Hey everybody, I'm Logan Allec. I'm a CPA. Today I'm going to be talking about the payroll processing software that I personally use for my companies and that I'd like to talk to you about. So this is just going to be a very candid review of the Gusto payroll platform. Gusto does not know I'm doing this. Gusto is not sponsoring this video. I do have a promo code link down in the comments below. If you click it, it says, hey, Logan invited you to try Gusto. I asked them for this. And you get $100 after running your first payroll. I do get a small commission as well. Okay. Not a big moneymaker, guys. I'll probably just put whatever I get from that into my kids' college funds. You guys, I'm not BSing just to make a buck here. Like, I actually do use Gusto. They just sent me an email 5 hours ago from Gusto support saying my workers' compensation policy payment is coming up. Yay. More money out of my bank account. So I have used Gusto to run payroll for, I have two companies. One's an LLC, one's a corporation. I've gone through dozens of employees, maybe over 100 at this point between the two companies. And, multiple states. I've had remote workers for years, right? And so I feel I'm pretty well qualified to talk about Gusto, review it. I'm also a CPA, who knows kind of that payroll tax side of things. So yeah, I'm just going to share with you my experience with Gusto, what it does, the pricing, where I'd recommend you come in pricing wise, depending on your business. And then at the end, I'm going to just share a few pros and cons, right? Because no software platform is perfect. Okay, I don't want to make it sound like this is the perfect platform. There is no such thing, but it has worked for my purposes as a small business owner and as an entrepreneur for the better part of the last decade. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to actually show Gusto here on my screen, and just to kind of walk you through what Gusto does. Hey, you're going to be paying this company monthly. What does it do? Well, obviously it runs payroll. Okay, and what does that mean? That means it does all the payroll calculations for your business on whenever you pay your employees. It calculates the payroll taxes, it calculates the withholdings, it handles reimbursements, all those things, and then it makes sure the money is taken out of your business bank account and the appropriate amount is remitted to your employees. The appropriate amount being, of course, their gross wages less any deductions that get taken out of their paycheck. The most common one, of course, is their taxes. Okay, so nothing fancy. I'm not gonna kind of show you everything here because obviously there's sensitive employee information back here. But you can do both. I run two separate payrolls. One is a salary payroll that actually runs on autopilot. Payroll on autopilot in Gusto means that I don't have to go in every time this payroll runs and approve it. Okay, I don't have to approve it. Why? Because these folks are salaried. They make the same amount of money every pay period, right? Now, sometimes maybe around the holidays or something, I might give bonuses and things like that. Then I have to manually put that in. But, for the most part, these people are getting the same amount of money every pay period. I don't have to go in and manually approve anything. I also have hourly employees, and that's a separate payroll that I run. Those, that has to be looked at every pay period, right? Because the hours are variable. And there's a component of, overtime, right? And things like that kind of has to be checked and signed off on. So it can handle both, if you have salary and hourly employees, those would be separate payrolls. You can pay contractors here. Again, I'm not going to click it because it'll show you kind of sensitive information, but basically you just put the amount you want to pay the contractor, and it takes the money out of your bank account, deposits it in the contractor's bank account. Okay, so that is, it runs payroll for you as you would expect. Gusto also takes care of your payroll compliance. What is payroll compliance? Well, for example, it's when you hire a new employee, you have to file a new employee report in that state. Gusto does that for you. But the big thing, the big payroll compliance thing is the tax returns, right? The payroll tax returns, you can see here, I'm in the tax document section here of Gusto. Here's all the federal payroll tax returns that Gusto has submitted for my company. I do look at them before they send them, but they prepare them and they've never made a mistake for me yet. So that's pretty awesome. And not only the federal stuff, but also the state stuff, right? I'm here in the Golden State, but I do have employees in other parts of the country. And, they handle all of that sort of thing too. And they also make sure that the money goes to the government and is deposited with the government. And let me tell you folks, as a tax relief CPA, choice tax relief, that's what I talk about usually on this channel. So many people call us because they've gotten behind on payroll. Folks, if you can't make your payroll tax deposits and still cash flow in your business and still have a growing sustainable business, you may have to consider restructuring or shutting down your business. That's just a reality of it. So knowing this, I always committed from day one, I am never going to touch the withholdings from employees' paycheck for taxes, right? Thankfully, times have never really been that tight, right? But even if they were, I just have it so Gusto just sends it, right? Just sends it. I don't play this game where, I'm going to send it myself and I'm going to hold it until the due date and then I'll send it. It just leaves my bank account, right when 2 business days before payday, right? Because I just, you just don't want that temptation as a business owner. Because, even with a small business, that can be a lot of money. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars a month, right? It can get tempting, right? And that's why we see former Ohio Attorney General gets prison over unpaid payroll taxes, right? Construction boss could face prison over payroll tax and fraud charges. California woman gets 3 years for stealing Salem payroll taxes, right? It's a big deal, folks. You do not want to skirt Uncle Sam out of his payroll taxes. He gets really peeved when you do that, because look, not only does the cash not get deposited into the treasury, but also the government still has to give your employees credit for their withholding and their Social Security and the Medicare personally for them, right? So government doesn't like that, and you need a system in place. I know this might not seem a big deal, right? If you are a one-person S corp, and Gusto is great for that. By the way, when I was a one-person S corp, that's when I started using Gusto, and it is great for that. But as you kind of grow and expand your business, now you have 5 employees, now you have 10, now you have 50. That payroll taxes you take out of their paychecks, it's a little pot of gold, and you want just best practices, just keep it out of sight, out of mind. I mean, especially if you're a small business, it doesn't have layers of internal controls and management and fraud prevention and things like that. What else does Gusto do? Well, it sends out the information returns to your employees, independent contractors, your W-2s and 1099s. I'm not going to click on these because you'll see sensitive information, but it does do that. Beginning of every year, you got to send these out to your workers, and Gusto will handle that for you. If your workers have consented to electronic delivery, it will simply deliver them electronically for no fee, or you can pay them a nominal mailing fee that includes the postage to mail the W-2 or the 1099 to the worker's address. So those are the core things, right? Now you can see here Gusto does some other things. I see time and attendance, benefits, things like that. And I'll talk about those, but those are for higher level Gusto plans. Okay, so maybe I'll talk about those when I talk about the Gusto pricing. So let's open up the Gusto pricing for now. So here's the pricing, and this is relevant as of today, late 2025. It could be changed if you're watching this in the future. And again, you get the $100, right, if you use my $100 promo code in the link below that tells you, hey, Logan's welcome you to Gusto. So be sure to use that if you do want to check out Gusto. You get the $100 after you run your first payroll. So if you have a team, they have kind of these two kind of tabs here. You can see pay my team versus pay myself. Let's just start with the pay myself, because I think this may be where a lot of you may be. This is, for example, you're the only employee of your S corporation, right? You're the sole shareholder employee of your S corporation. This is what you get. Okay. For $49 a month plus 6 months per person, that person is you. So that's basically $55 a month, right? You get all the things that I described here, right? From the running payroll for yourself, the payroll tax compliance for the payroll tax forms, and also, obviously issuing yourself a W-2 at the beginning of the following year. They also have a reasonable salary calculator. That's interesting. I haven't actually tried that. Maybe I should make a separate video about that. S Corp compliance dashboard. Oh, and check this out. You get access to the Solopreneur platform, which gives you access to the Solar 401k, which is a great, phenomenal retirement account for those of you who are solo entrepreneurs. I had a solo 401k when it was just me before I hired my first full-time employee. It is a great way to stack your excess, just money you don't necessarily need in the near future. You can stash away for retirement into a solo 401k. You can integrate health benefits with Gusto, bill pay, invoicing, things like that. To be honest, when I was a solo S Corp person, I don't think Gusto had this solo plan. I just started with the simple plan, right? It seems that they've kind of tailored this new kind of solo plan just for single S Corp owners to give them a few more kind of bells and whistles at the same price point as the simple plan. But I haven't used this one personally. When I started, I don't think they had it. I just used the simple plan. Now I use the plus plan. That's what I use for my companies. But let me just talk about these plans in sequence. Well, okay. First, there is a contractors only plan. If you just need to hire contractors or pay contractors, that you can do that, right? And that's very simple, right? It's basically you get their form W-9, right? You pay them money, and Gusto can do that for you. Have them fill it out electronically. You pay the money when you pay the money, and then Gusto issues the 1099 for you at the beginning of next year, right? That's $0 per month plus 6 months per person. Okay, very simple, right? Obviously, when you're hiring independent contractors, it's a much more simple relationship than employees. Because with employees, well, now you got to deal with the withholding, you got to deal with their unemployment insurance, you got to deal with their benefits. Employees have more rights to independent contractors, all these things, right? Okay, so let's start with a simple plan, right? This is if you have an employee, right? If it's just you and you're the only employee, okay, go solo. But if it's you and at least one other employee, whether full-time or part-time, you should at least start thinking about the simple plan. The simple plan will basically get you everything I described over previously, okay? Full service, single state payroll, right? One state only for this plan. Unlimited runs and automated tax filings, like I said. Oh, and there's kind of a self-service aspect in Gusto, which is great, where employees have their own login and everything. They can download all their pay stubs and their W-2s and whatnot, and it's really great for that. So this is a very simple thing. I used Simple for many years, actually. I think I had to go to Plus when, or maybe we have Premium now. Actually, I think we have Premium. Yeah, we have Premium. Never mind. Because I did have to go to Plus when I hired my first remote employee in a different state. Okay. So, gosh, I don't even know. Sorry. I mean, I guess in Gusto's defense, it's not that much more expensive a month, right, between Plus and Premium. That's why I kind of forgot we're at Premium now. Anyway, so Plus, multi-state payroll, right? So if you have to run payroll in more than one state, you're going to have to upgrade to Plus, okay, which is $80 a month plus $12 per person. Time tracking and PTO management. So this is really important if you have hourly employees. Obviously, you can have another system that hourly employees can clock in and clock out. You can have, if they're all in the office, you can have an old school, clock in, clock out machine, right? And you can look at their hours and input them, in the software every time. I don't like that. I don't want to do that. I don't have time for that. I don't want to pay somebody to have time for that. So what my hourly employees do, let me see if I can show you this time and attendance thing, is they have these time kiosks, right, where they can clock in and clock out from a central location while at work. Now, some companies, they have it where there's like one computer in the office where everyone clocks in and clocks out there. I just let everybody have it on their own computer, right? Their own computer. Do I have any hourly remote employees right now? I don't have any hourly remote employees at the moment. I mean, sometimes my hourly employees do work from home from time to time, and they can set up a time kiosk on their personal, computer. Obviously, there's a trust factor there, right? As opposed to being in the office when there's, kind of management there, making sure they're not cheating hours. So they can, it's as simple as like clicking a button to clock in and clock out, right? And this is literally within the Gusto platform itself for them. Okay. All right, and then time off requests. I'm not going to show you all of my employees' recent time off requests, but that is something that employees can do on a self-service basis in Gusto. They can request the time off. They, if they were sick, they can, request, say, hey, I was sick. This is my sick day. And that was really great as opposed to having to, they tell me or a manager like, hey, I'm taking this time off. It's all here now. They do it themselves. Right, the approval, then the manager or me gets an email to approve the time off. It's really, really fabulous. So there's also a scheduling aspect here. We don't have really a scheduling aspect to my company. Like, they're pretty much all full time. They work business hours, so there's not like, oh, you have this shift and that shift. But I guess that's a component there as well. Okay, time tracking and PTO, we talked about that. Hiring and onboarding tools. These are amazing. I use these to, let me take it back. The process of, hiring and onboarding in Gusto is great. Okay. Gusto does have kind of a default employment agreement. I would say that you probably want to hire an employment attorney to actually put together a labor law attorney to actually put together the employment agreement you're going to use in your company. The Gusto one is fine, right? I mean, it defines basic terms and basic things about the relationship between you and your employee, but if push comes to shove, I think you want something a little more airtight, in my opinion. But the actual process of onboarding is great. Let me see if I can just, sorry, I don't want to show any like employees' names or things, so that's why I have this so zoomed. Basically, I clicked on the people tab on the left-hand side, and now I'm going to click add team member here. Let me make sure that says. So I can, add this team member here. Let's just say it's, let's say her name is Mary Wilson. Okay, let's say this is an employee, and her thing is, Mary.Wilson, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3. And look, send an offer letter. Oh, gosh, sorry, at email.com. Okay, I hope this isn't a real thing. Right, send an offer letter, send and continue. Okay. All right, and then you just describe the role, works from home. I'm not going to drop this down here because it'll show people's home addresses where they work from and all that. We can do the state, right? Let's say she works in California. Her job manager is, tax preparer, department, tax prep, manager. It's probably gonna show people's names, so I'm not gonna do that. Maybe I'll just pause this real quick. So let's say the manager's me, and they're gonna start on whatever. Well, not New Year's Day. Week after New Year's. So we continue. Right, and then you're just gonna select, whatever it is. Right? Let's just, let's say it's. Let's make it just an even, whatever, 50 a year, whatever. Employment status, full-time, not exempt. And then you can kind of customize this office letter. And let's say, I want them to respond by, Christmas Eve or something. And I'm not going to show you the offer letter. But basically it's down here, they fill in all Mary's details and pay and stuff, and you can kind of customize it if you need. And then you kind of review the information here, right? And then send it to Mary, right? So like that whole thing, it takes kind of the mystery and the confusion, having to like, send it through some separate DocuSign thing, and it's really great like that. All right, let's go over here. Right, hire onboarding. Right, and once they accept, it's really easy too. The whole I-9 thing, you just say when you show up, bring your passport, right, or your driver's license and your social security card works too. Fill that out. Gusto sorts the I-9. Great. Okay, and also health insurance admin and broker integration. So we just actually started, and I've been paying for premium for a while, but we just started integrating that with Gusto. We just actually this past year, we made Gusto our broker of record, right? We had offered health insurance benefits for forever, but you know, I had a separate broker, right? Kind of, we had to manually put the deductions and everything, right, from paychecks into Gusto. It was kind of a pain. We had to update it every year when the rates went up. But recently we started just integrating it with Gusto and made Gusto the broker of record. Okay, and that has been a lot easier for us. Yes. Okay. So look, I mean, if you kind of do the math here, let's say you have 10 employees, right? What's the difference between Simple and Plus? Okay. So Simple is going to run you $109 a month, right? That's $49 a month plus $60, $6 a month times 10, right? $109 a month. Plus is going to run you about $200 a month, right? That's $112 per person times 10. At 120 plus 80 is 200. It's an extra, like, what, $81? That's not huge, folks, in my humble opinion. Okay, like, if you have a business where you're paying people, you're bringing in revenue. I'm not saying start here if you just have like one employee or two employees and you don't need time tracking, but it's not that much more expensive. And don't let this extra, don't be scared of growth because of these things here. Oh my gosh, I gotta do payroll in a new state. Oh my gosh, people gotta track their time now. Oh my gosh, what about offering health insurance benefits? Don't let that stop you, because Gusto can make it easy. Okay. All right. Now the premium thing, yeah, you can kind of run. I mean, they don't take the place of a labor attorney, right? Obviously, but you kind of bump ideas off their certified HR experts. Hey, we want to do this. Hey, what can we do? What are our 401k options? Things like that. And, it's great. But I think for most companies, at least folks who are watching this video right now, Simpler Plus is going to be the way to go. All right, so now let's just talk pros and cons, then I'll let you go. Pro number one, Gusto is easy to use. Like, sure, I mean, I kind of have a background with this stuff as a CPA, having, run payroll by hand for companies before, not by hand, but with much clunkier software than Gusto. So I kind of had a leg up there. I kind of knew what to expect, but it's not rocket science, folks. I mean, you saw the back end there. Everything's pretty nicely labeled on the left-hand side. Not a big deal. Okay, so easy use for Gusto is definitely the biggest pro. Number two, the pricing's transparent and it's affordable. Like, it really is affordable if you think about it. So just so in case you don't know, a lot of software that's for like professional service firms, accounting firms, law firms, whatever, you get this, you talk to your account executive or whatever, and then they put together a package for you with like a flat fee, right? It's like a custom package and custom pricing for you. Okay. And it feels a little skeevy because you're thinking in the back of my mind, okay, like, is everybody paying this? Are they just trying to like really juice this price to juice their commission? Our tax software is like this. There's other payroll tax softwares that's like this. With Gusto, it's very transparent, right? Simple plan. $49 a month base plus $6 per month per person. Plus plan, $80 per month base, $12 per month per person. Very transparent. You're paying the same as everybody else is paying. Okay. There's no salesperson trying to sell you this big old package, which is great. Number three thing, just as a CPA, the accuracy of the returns, right? I've never had an issue with the returns the payroll tax returns and all that stuff being incorrect, which is great. Number four, the employee self-service. aspect of things is wonderful. That saves a lot of time for me, for management, that employees can just, request time off, track time, update their personal banking information. I mean, I remember I worked at a big accounting firm. If I wanted to update my banking information, and this was just like 10 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, I had to fill out this thing by hand and then email it to this lady in HR, and then it would take 2 pay periods to update. With Gusto, employees can just go in and update that sort of thing themselves. Okay, it's advanced in that way, and it's frankly what you'd expect from a payroll software in 2020, in the 2020s, let's say. Okay, now let's talk about some of the cons here. And this does have to kind of do with the pricing. The pricing for Gusto, I think, is very fair and transparent. Now, there are some things that Gusto does not do in-house, so to speak. Okay. For example, I offer a 401k to employees. Yes, that is integrated with Gusto. They're paid, it automatically calculates the 401k deductions and everything from the paycheck and my employer match and all that. But the actual kind of administrator of the plan is this company called Guideline 401k. And I have to pay an extra fee to them and, have an additional account with them. Okay. So just kind of be aware of that, right? Especially as you look to add more and more benefits to employees or things like that. You may be having to, pay more for additional software because Gusto doesn't handle it in-house. It relies on a third-party integrated provider. Con number 2, I'd say, is if you have a very custom benefit plan, right? It's not just the standard, health insurance, 401k, PTO, holiday policy, sick leave. If it's not just the normal things that 90% of companies do, and you have something very bespoke, we're going to give a certain amount for adoption or this or that, Gusto may not be able to handle that as efficiently as the more standard benefits. Okay. And there maybe have some finagling you're going to have to do manually in the system to get the pay stubs and the reporting and the W-2s all done correctly. Okay. Last thing is, I was debating whether I should include this or not, but it's when you do payroll for a first time in a new state, you got to register with that state, right? You generally, at the very least, have to register for income tax withholding and then unemployment insurance fund withholding, right? And Gusto will not do this for you. You can pay Gusto to do it. The price it varies by state, so I'm not going to tell you what it costs because it varies by state. It's fairly steep because they outsource this to a third-party provider called CorpNet. Okay, so your options are either pay Gusto kind of this somewhat inflated fee, in my opinion, to get your business registered in a new state. By the way, this is not just I set up my LLC in California, I'm good. No, setting up your LLC in California, that's just setting up your LLC, getting your EIN with the IRS. Those are different things. You also got to if you're going to run payroll, you also got to register your LLC in California, whatever state you're in, for unemployment tax withholding and for income tax withholding. Okay, there may be other things depending on your state, but those are the 2 basic ones. So you're left with basically doing it yourself, which can be a little bit cumbersome. Every state has a very different process for doing this, but that's kind of the way it is. Okay, so those are the pros and cons. There's kind of a brief kind of walkthrough. Bottom line, folks, I, as a CPA with multiple companies with employees in multiple states, have stuck with Gusto for the better part of a decade. Not because it's perfect, but because it fits 95% of my payroll needs for a very fair price. And I think it will for the majority of small and medium-sized businesses in the United States who have fairly straightforward compensation packages. Okay, you make this much per hour, or you make this much salary, who operate, in a handful of states, right? Who have fairly straightforward benefit packages. Okay, this works great, and that defines 90% of small and medium-sized businesses in this country. If you have, international folks and things like that, then I I don't think Gusto would be that great. Okay, maybe they've gotten better at that, but you know, that's one thing I would say. But if you're like 90% of small and medium-sized businesses in this country, Gusto can do the trick for you. If you're curious if Gusto can, you know, would work for your situation, feel free to leave a comment in the comments below, and I can give my honest 2 cents. All right, and you know, if you do think that Gusto is, you want to try Gusto out, to at least try, hey, okay, let's try this out. Let's run payroll. I do have my little $100 off link in the description below. I do get a little commission on that as well if you use my link. Like I said, I'll probably just throw it at my children's college fund or something like that. I'm not expecting to get rich of Gusto commissions. All right, folks. Thank you so much for watching. I really do enjoy making these videos for you all, and I do welcome your comments and questions. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.